Welcome to Podadelphia. My name is Dave Diorio. You can find me on Twitter at @fat_lobster. And I'm joined by an adorable trick-or-treater. What's up, Sarah? How are you?
I'm good. I'm taking back. I was preparing myself for a joke. I wasn't expecting the compliment, but I will be trick-or-treating with the kids this year. I'm going as Agatha Harkness from WandaVision.
Rad.
Costume came in today. I love it. For the 5 to 12 neighbors who will see me in it, mostly in the dark, who don't really know who I am. So it's a good use of both time and money. But my name is Sarah Spooky Siders, and you can find me on Twitter at Sarah Siders. And yeah, we're going hard into the Halloween theme tonight.
Are we?
Well, at least I am.
Well, I'm rocking my Camp Crystal Lake shirt. It's about as Halloween celebratory as I'll get as far as putting items on my person. So repping Jersey, repping Halloween. But we are here to talk about scary stuff, though, right?
Yeah, we are going to talk about scary stuff. We're gonna go for that real elevated horror and talk about things that hit us on a personal level and our deepest, darkest fears. So we're not doing vampires. We're not doing werewolves. I don't think we're doing mummies or zombies or
for
Matt
me,
Geigers.
It's aliens. For me, it's aliens.
For you, it is aliens.
I hate aliens, man.
Fire in the sky, man, and you are never the same after that.
That movie traumatized me for life. We are here to talk about, like, I think we've each compiled a short list of things that are scary in Philadelphia sports today. What is scary about Philadelphia sports? What are you scared of? Mm-hmm. And this may be a short episode. We got jack-o'-lanterns to carve. We got costumes to make for children. I got candy corn to throw away.
I love like 3 pieces of candy corn. Like, there's a bowl of candy corn, I will have 3 pieces, and then I am good until next October. So,
Tim says aliens and bees. Tim knows me well. We cannot forget the bees. The swarm. Is there any other popular like bee? Oh, Candyman, right? Like that's a bee.
Oh yeah,
centric. Yeah. I hate bees. Creepy. They're kind of alien-like in nature with the eyes and the.
They are. How do you feel about the movie Alien or Aliens?
Oh no, I don't mind it because I'm not. It's like the gray alien profile that really freaks me out. Like the ones that have like the big heads, the big eyes, the ones that like open your window and like crawl in and then like abduct you or whatever. When I was a kid, I used to look at the window and in my mind visualize aliens looking in at me.
Aliens, okay, not so much. Sports. Ghosts were me because I grew up in a haunted house. Like legitimately, if I'm up late on Twitter, ask me about it and I'll talk about it. During the day, I'll just be like, no, fine, I was making up. But I totally grew up in a haunted house.
I'm not sure I've heard this story.
You've heard it.
Stories. I have.
You heard it. There was a time where you dubbed my car the Ecto 1 because of it. That's right. Sorry to step on your.
No. I mean, this is good. This is good banter. Some good banter. Have you watched Haunting of Hill House?
Which one? But yes. Actually, yes. I watched all of them.
The show, the series on Netflix.
Yeah, I've watched The Haunting of Hill House. I've watched the dismal 1999 Haunting, and I have watched the Netflix series, The Haunting of Hill House, and that's really good. I mean, I'm really late to the game.
I've never seen it before. It's awesome.
Oh, yeah. It's really good. So I think you watched all the spinoffs by the same writer, but
right.
But it's really good. Haunting of Hill House. The original The Haunting of Hill House. You can skip the 90s Haunting, unless you're up for a really bad movie, because that's just
and you heathens can also read the book.
Or you can read the book.
Right.
Or you can read the book. A little shout out to Shirley Jackson.
Yeah. Shirley. All right. So why don't you kick us off? What is first on your list of, because I'm willing to bet we're going to have some crossover here, or at least some blending of lines for sure.
We are. So it being me, I'm going to start with the
What's
Flyers.
with hockey? Go ahead.
Yeah. So my number one fear with the Flyers is not that they won't win a Stanley Cup in my lifetime. That's back there, but that's a little too far away, God willing.
Yeah.
But it's back there. But my main fear is that this group, as assembled now, is going to be just good enough to do nothing. You know, things need to start breaking the Flyers' way. You know, we need a few prospects to come out of nowhere. Joel Farabee didn't come out of nowhere, but he looks, to have that potential to be an impact player.
We love the Farabee.
We love the Farabee. We are trying to make that emoji happen, probably against the better wishes of most people we know, but
including Joel Farabee. Probably.
Oh yeah, I can't imagine he would like it. Why would he like that? But I just worry when I look at this team that they're going to be good enough to not be good enough. That we're going to have a decade of occasionally making the Eastern Conference Finals, but losing out to teams that really bottomed out, like the Panthers. The last decade of Flyers hockey repeating, comment from friend of the show, Tim. See, but it's not the last.
I was going to say your biggest fear is the Flyers being the Flyers.
Yeah, I mean, probably. It was the previous decade, I guess. Although in that win now time, there were, at least we could say, we stockpiled all the free agents with the cap, being a reality. I just really worry that the Flyers are going to be the Sixers. Before the process, the Sixers just good enough to go out in the second round. I worry that the teams that have truly bottomed out will leapfrog the Flyers, and it's just going to be, is this their year? No, it's not. They're just not good enough to win the cup, but they're not bad enough to get high draft picks. And it's a decade later and we throw up our hands and go, time to rebuild again, I guess.
Yeah, I can definitely see that, because it is like an easy place to get stuck is in the middle. And yeah, the Flyers have kind of already been there for quite a while, but we always thought we'll never see the Eagles win a Super Bowl, and it happened. So it's going to happen. I mean, eventually, you give enough monkeys, enough typewriters, and enough time, you get a Super Bowl. You get a Stanley Cup.
Well, I hope so, but I didn't think this was the hope episode. Like, shouldn't we be doing that like the day after Halloween? This is supposed to be the scary episode.
Okay, you're right. There actually is no glimmer of hope on the horizon. They really are stuck in mediocrity. And what does it take to get out of that? Either a huge, huge, huge free agent signing, or you score on a draft. And the year that we scored on the draft, we got Nolan Patrick.
Not anymore. We don't.
We got a damn headache is what we got.
Oh, very, very classy joke there. Mm-hmm. But not the least classy.
Just call me Abdenabi.
But no, see, I don't know if it's reality yet. If Morgan Frost develops in the AHL and can make an impact in the NHL, okay. If when Kevin Hayes returns to the team, if he gets back up to speed really quick, okay, we have something.
Right.
There are just a lot of question marks with this Flyers team, and we need a little bit of luck for those question marks to turn into exclamation points and for us to be real Stanley Cup contenders. I do still think the Flyers, as composed now and for, let's say, the next 4 or 5 years, a Stanley Cup final should be in our future. Now, whether we win it or not, who knows? But as currently made up, I would think that the Flyers are good enough to do that. But, bad luck. Carter Hart has a bad series after having a great regular season. So many things can happen, and it really could just be, well, the Flyers are the Flyers, and they're okay, I guess. It's the Leafs. That's who it is. I'm afraid that this group of Flyers is going to be the current Leafs team, where everyone says they're a really good team and they can't get out the first round, or they can't beat anyone in their division. So that's my fear specifically.
Sarah, I have something even scarier than that.
Go on.
It's Gene.
Gene!
Are you terrified?
Ooh, we were terrified of filling an hour without you.
I would be.
I'm going to go next.
Please do.
I went a little more. I mean, like a lot of it all centers around winning championships, right? And I kind of described my biggest fear in Philly sports is wasting primes or closing windows of opportunity. And I'm really afraid of wasting Bryce Harper's prime and Joel Embiid's prime specifically those two guys. Like Embiid is going to go down as an all-time Sixer. He's going to be tall Allen Iverson. He's going to always be here. He's going to always be around. And my fear is he's going to be Allen Iverson, Charles Barkley, great players, potential Hall of Fame player, but just never got it done in his time here because of idiots like Ben Simmons and Markelle Fultz, and league meddling and weird GM decisions and things like that. And just that window of opportunity just slamming shut. And by the time it opens again, it's too late for him. And Bryce Harper, we're kind of in that same middle ground position, like a 500 team. And it's like, you want to make it happen. So you really can't do the hard thing to properly rebuild. So it's like always just like bailing water out of the canoe just to try to stay afloat. And, this guy, another guy, potential Hall of Famer, perennial MVP candidate. And it's just like, God, it's like, we can't even get this guy in the postseason, let alone get him a ring for this city and watch him ride down Broad Street in a parade. Like, these guys deserve to ride down Broad Street, in red, white, and blue ticker tape or whatever, and have parades, because they're that great. They're that good for the city. And I know that they want it so bad. And I'm just terrified that we're never going to be able to get it. And it's not like just an irrational fear. It's like a legitimate fear.
Yeah.
I'm sure you feel the same exact. I mean, it's over for Claude Giroux. I mean, it's like, he's not going to win a championship. He's not going to raise the Stanley Cup in Philadelphia. It's just not going to happen, right?
It could happen.
I mean, yeah, it could happen.
It could. Claude Giroux, and I was like totally going to agree with you, but you just know how to pick my Claude Giroux nerve.
Maybe as an assistant, like, on the bench or something.
No. Claude has, I'm going to say conservatively, 4 more years, and there is a decent shot, if things break right, that the Flyers will compete for the Stanley Cup. The more I justify this, the worse it sounds. But there is a decent shot that Giroux should get another shot with the Flyers at the Cup. He's not going to have a lot, so it is like Bryce Harper, but
he's played in a finals. I mean, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
He had the opportunity. Yeah,
And Giroux didn't pick us, like with Harper, Giroux like grew up here, like he's drafted by the Flyers, and there's a lot of good reasons for Giroux to have this lifelong connection to the city. We're like, Bryce, come here, Bryce, and then completely just waste his talent. That was my Phillies fear verbatim. And I'm sure Eugene have just so many similar thoughts.
You used my full name.
I know. I was breaking it out.
That's one of my fears. People using my full name.
Oh no.
So obviously, I fear things like being on time. Clearly. So are we doing this like round robin, or like everybody doing like?
Yeah, I mean, it's super casual, Gene. We're not trying to.
All right, nothing formal. Just to sort of weigh in on your particular fear, I mean, that's sort of been the MO of Philadelphia our whole lives. We wasted Randall Cunningham's prime. we wasted Donovan McNabb's prime. Just to talk about Eagles.
I mean, I don't think we wasted Donovan McNabb's prime.
That's true.
He had a shot. He puked it up.
He coughed it up, literally. Did we waste T.O.'s prime? No, I guess he probably had his prime other places.
T.O. wasted T.O.'s prime.
Ron Hextall played in the finals. Can't necessarily say that we wasted his prime, and scored a couple goals. But yeah, I mean, the Sixers really, they had their late 70s, early 80s that they sort of were able to cash in on. But then anybody that's played since 1984, if they played for this city, their prime has been sort of wasted. Although a lot of people will probably say that the 01 team sort of maxed out maybe on their potential. I don't know. There wasn't another team that even bloodied the nose of that Lakers dynasty.
I'm not going to say that we didn't waste Allen Iverson's prime. He did play in a finals, but he was so overmatched and so alone. It's just like that. I mean, you're watching like 300 or something. He's just like the last Spartan warrior, like just trying to hang on. Props to him. But, I do feel like we kind of wasted his prime because
player that you would have been able to pair with Allen Iverson to really sort of get over that hump. Like what would have been the equivalent, like Kobe
you
to
needed
Shaq,
like a more
Allen Iverson to, was it Theo Ratliff? I don't know.
I mean, you needed a quality forward or a center that was, I mean, like Mutombo was cool. Like we love Mutombo, but you need like a more offensive, like a more offensive in their prime minded, like, Kobe had Shaq, for Christ's sake.
Right.
I mean, if AI can't win a title with Matt Geiger and Aaron McKee, I mean,
he'll never win one.
I've always thought that like the pairing, and I mean, obviously it never happened because he was sort of a legacy in his own city, but the Allen Iverson Tim Duncan pairing might have been pretty devastating because Allen Iverson, even their personalities, I feel like would have worked well together because Tim Duncan was just sort of like a, don't really look at me. I don't really need that sort of attention. I just want to play basketball. Just want to do my job. And Allen Iverson would buy whole new wardrobes when he went on the road. So, I mean, you can't really, obviously that's my favorite fun Allen Iverson fact. I literally go to it every time. That's just an illustration of how I think of if I was to replay that sort of scenario. But I want to start with one of my fears.
Lay it on us.
And this is a fear about. I think it sort of would be encompassing all four teams because my biggest fear is that that we are going to succumb to like the sin of ego or the sin of pride. There have been so many problems with each team individually where there have been certain personalities, whether it's a player or whether it's been a general manager or someone, and because of their own pride or their own ego, they have gotten in the way of the team that they are a part of achieving what they can do. I think the Sixers, probably the prime example currently right now, dealing with this whole Ben Simmons saga, where if he would be able to check his own ego and just do his job, that's literally all he needs to do is come and play basketball. It's what he's being paid to do, and he can't get out of his own way. I
think that's maybe sloth, Gene?
Yeah, maybe. I think that was the problem with Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz, it was his own ego and his own like need to turn the ball over because he's still doing it in Indianapolis. That sort of gotten in the way of the Eagles probably when they could have maybe won another Super Bowl in that sort of window when everybody was still sort of together. I thought that 2017 was the opening of the window, not the slamming shut of the window. Sir, I think you could probably speak better to like egomaniacs for the Flyers, but the example that I'll give is I thought that Dave Haxtell and Ron Hextall, it was sort of their own hubris, especially, and I love Ron Hextall. I have a poster of him somewhere around here. He was my favorite Flyer growing up, but when I heard those stories sort of leak that he was very anti-alumni being back in the locker room and sort of counter what had always been Flyers culture, it sort of made me sort of made my ears sort of tweak that like there's definitely something rotten in the state of Flyerdom if that's what's going on. And the Phillies, maybe the most notorious of all of the bunch of hubris, if they could figure out how to goddamn close a game and not cough up 30 blown saves a year, maybe I'm not boycotting the World Series this year. Maybe that's something that happens because maybe the Braves aren't even there. But this is the first time since like the Subway Series that I have this much interest in the World Series. See how much
you need to watch the World Series, Gene. You need to watch that World Series, and you need to internalize that pain and remember it going into next year. You need to watch that World Series.
Oh God, I hate both of those franchises with such passion.
Nah, I'm rooting for the Braves.
Me too, unfortunately.
I can't not root for the Braves, but I feel disgusting doing it. I don't know. I mean, this is the only sort of situation.
If you weren't in the same division as the Braves, you would definitely root for the Braves.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, well,
I still don't like it.
Okay.
I mean, the Braves have the racism, but it's, going for them, which is not good. I want to make sure that's in the cons category so everyone knows. But one of the pro categories for the Braves is they only ever won that one championship. So it's not as if they were this dynasty. Yeah, they dominated the NL East forever.
Hey, since we're talking about this was actually on my list.
Okay, go.
What on my list of fears is rivals on the doorstep. So I have the Braves are in the World Series. So you're going to have a jealousy factor there, considering you had an opportunity to take their place in the postseason. And I have the Dallas Cowboys, Gene, have a legitimate shot at a Super Bowl this year. That offense is dynamic. They're putting up numbers. The defense looks a lot better. And they have a serious shot at getting to the Super Bowl this year. So
yeah, no, you're not wrong about
that. Does this strike fear into the hearts of Philly fans?
It certainly does. And let's add on just from the hockey world, Gene, you missed at the beginning of the show. One of my fears is that the Flyers didn't tank sufficiently enough and they were just going to be almost good enough, whereas other teams that really bottomed out could jump ahead of them. Two teams that did that, the Devils and to a lesser extent the Rangers, but they're loaded with prospects. And yeah, to some extent they're lottery tickets, but they have a lot more lottery tickets than the Flyers have. So things can turn ugly in our division quick. So yeah, I'm with you right there. And I hadn't even thought about the fact that the Braves are in the World Series and the Phillies should have kept them out of the playoffs. That correlation is less fearful, less scary, and more infuriating. But no,
we get Acuna back next year.
Oh, Lord help me! Was this supposed to be the scary show or the depressing show? Because I'm leaning more towards depressing. But yeah, there's real possibilities that division rivals could win 3 out of the 4 titles. I don't know enough about the Sixers division in basketball, but that sucks, Dave. That's a good fear.
I took your turn in the rotation, so why don't you give us another scary Philly sports situation?
I'm scared of the next thing you guys are gonna say. But my big one, my next one, is that the Philadelphia Eagles are going to have Howie Roseman as GM for an upcoming draft and have 3 picks in the top 10.
I'll cross it off my list.
Yeah, I kind of thought that would be a social. I also had the Bryce Harper for mine.
But, well, I mean, I had listed that we fuck up the draft, so it's all the same.
Yeah,
but social.
Woo! I don't toast with water. It's bad luck. But yeah, it's look behind the scenes. Part of the reason we're doing this episode, not just because I love Halloween, but because we didn't want to talk about the Eagles again. We didn't want to talk about the Ben Simmons drama again.
Right.
And there's a lot of misery in Eagles country. I have no faith in our coach. I have no faith in the GM. And there might be a real opportunity to completely remake this team in March or whenever the NFL draft is. But we have the wrong guy in the front office. And
I know. And it's like top 10 picks. It's just like, just do what everyone expects you to do with those picks. Like, take the consensus best picks in that situation. That way, at the very least, you can say, well, you can't turn around and say like, well, I never liked that pick to begin with, because that's the consensus guy. Those are the best players in the top 10. You know what I mean? Like, don't get fancy in the top 10.
Yep. And I just worry that he's going to get fancy in the top 10 or package those 3 picks and for the number 1 overall and pick the wrong guy.
Yeah, see, that's my
as bad as the Markelle Fultz pick turned out to be, you can't really you can, because like stories have come out that said like, I didn't have a great like tryout day, other people in the organization, but from a media standpoint, all of the fans, all we got was Markelle Fultz is the consensus number 1 pick.
But that was my bigger fear, is that Howie Roseman is going to package those 3 picks up and either trade for some. I don't think he would trade for an established player, but like try and go after number 1. And honestly, as much as I don't follow college football religiously,
you don't need to give up all 3 to get it to move up to 1.
But you might need 2.
Yeah, you might.
So I think I would. Is there a guy? I haven't heard the name of a guy that is like, this is the number 1 guy. This is the franchise changing guy. And this early in college football season, you're really just talking about quarterbacks anyway.
You're still trying to figure out if Jalen's the guy.
And that's the thing, is we don't even know. And will we know in April? And do you want to pick a guy in the first round to come in and sort of reset the whole thing? And do you want Nick Sirianni to be the guy bringing him along?
We need to know by December.
I'd like to know by next week, if possible.
Well, if you lose to the Lions, you're going to have a major problem.
We got Minshew ready to go. We got the stash stashed.
Is he still rocking that, by the way?
I have no idea. I don't think anybody's seen him recently. I think we'll get a look at him now that Flacco's hit the turnpike. Man, talk about like
roaming the sidelines.
Yeah, a weird career that Flacco had. Came in, got overpaid as a backup, and then got shipped back home basically, because he was with the Jets last year. Shipped back to the Jets for a 5th round pick.
It's just like Howie's track record. Howie's track record is like weird, because the early picks are bad, but sometimes the later picks turn out to be better. Like I forget who we drafted that year that we got Mailata so late.
Right.
Was that the Whiteside or
I think that was JJ.
Yeah, I mean, like, so that has happened where he finds something good late in the draft, but screws up the really important pick early.
Well, thank God he got Mailata, because he blew the high pick on the left tackle.
Yeah, the Andre Dillard pick. Yeah,
but that's called being penny wise and pound foolish. Oh, he's great late in the draft. Awesome. But the NFL draft there's so much front-loaded talent that you have to get that right.
Yeah, you got to make good there.
And the Eagles, unless things really change, and they could, but I don't expect it, the Eagles are going to end up with a haul. They're going to end up with most likely 3 top half of the draft picks.
Yeah.
And I can't in good conscience imagine how you'd hand it over to Howie. So that's my second fear on the list. Dave, you jumped ahead of me. So would that be Gene's turn?
Yep, Gene's up.
All right, Gene.
He's got one.
Okay. My fear, this is and here we are. We didn't want to talk about the Sixers and the Ben Simmons thing. We didn't want to talk about the Eagles. We just talked about the Eagles. And now I want to say my fear is that they're not going to get anything for Ben Simmons. That that we're just not going to, that he, somehow the situation is going to force itself. And by say we're not going to get anything, yes, there will be a return for Ben Simmons. What I am concerned about is that we are going to get such little value in return, because right now it's awful hard to make a case that this is a guy that you would trade a marquee player from your team to rebuild around. He is a absolute stud on defense. We have no idea about his mental state and his ability to emotionally compete. We don't know if he has any desire to play offensive basketball at all, which is a huge problem if you're going to be a superstar in the NBA. If your coach is questioning your desire to score, that's a problem. You can never be the man. You're never going to be put in a position that you can win a game.
And Gene, I'm going to one up you here, and I'm going to say that my fear isn't that we get little in return for Ben Simmons. My fear is that there is no deal for Ben Simmons. Like, Ben Simmons continues to play for the Sixers. At some point down the road,
that is getting to be a lot scarier. How can he play for the Sixers now? Like, can you imagine how that could possibly go at this point? The relationship, it seems so irreparably damaged.
I gotta say, I feel like that home opener against the Nets, when Embiid came out and spoke, he really toned the crowd's attitude down quite a bit. I mean, I didn't hear any anti-Ben Simmons chants during the game, and I thought it was going to be nasty. So,
was he even in the building?
Maybe he comes back and plays.
Well, it certainly would make for must-see TV to see what the Ben Simmons return game. I'd love to see him come out and put up a triple-double. I'm certainly, as long as he's got our jersey on, I want him to play well.
What is he going to have? Assists, rebounds, and steals?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah,
he'll have 4 points.
Yeah, I think both of your fears are more than legitimate. I don't see any scenario in which Ben Simmons nets a good return. I mean, maybe you can package the dude for draft picks, but hypothetically he's going to a team that's ready to win, so I don't know what those draft picks are going to look like. Maybe some prospects, maybe a role player. I have no idea. I just do not expect the return on a Ben Simmons trade to be much. I, like Dave, do think that steps are being taken to repair the relationship enough to get him on the court, because there's no trade to be had if he can't play again. I mean, what would you give up? Name any team in the league. What asset do you give up for a player who can't get himself together for whatever circumstance, can't get himself together to finish a practice?
I don't know. I mean, maybe a team that just wants to shuffle the cards a little bit and see if it can improve their chances at all, like the Kings or Portland or something like that. But I mean,
I think there's a home for him, but I just don't know what they're going to give up.
Well, right.
I don't think the man's untradeable, but he's untradeable for anything you want.
It is interesting though to hear that the Nets and the Sixers have not spoken at all about a potential Kyrie Ben Simmons trade.
That would be also scary.
That would be scary. Although I'm kind of warming up to the idea. Sarah, we'll be back to you.
Trade better evils.
You got anything left on the list?
I do. Let me take a quick look here on the list just to make sure. Oh, let's go back to this one for the Phillies. Let's go back to this one for the Phillies. This is my backup one for the Phillies. And this is, again, another fear that I think is likely. I am afraid that the Phillies are going to lose the Philadelphia public fan base again. You know, we
I thought you were going to say you're afraid they're going to lose the Fanatic.
Oh, no, screw that. Pay the people their money and then get the regular Fanatic or pay the people their money, and we'll try to embrace the knockoff Fanatic. But no, I don't care about the Fanatic. I have Gritty in my heart.
The Phillies are going to lose what? All the good sentiment they've earned this year?
Well, they're going to lose the fan base. You know, I've talked about on this show a lot that Philadelphia has a few thousand diehard baseball fans, and we like to pretend we're a Boston or a New York. We're not. We have the ability to be there, but the Phillies have to be good for a stretch. They have to at least have some semblance of hope to keep people coming back. And it was a fun time to see the crowds at the ballpark and the excitement surrounding an ultimately frustrating Phillies team. But now you have to build on that, and I have no faith they're going to build on it, and that the ballpark's going to be empty, and it's going to look like Miami games there in 2 seasons. So that's a big fear too, because I'm sick of hearing it. I'm sick of hearing we're such a great baseball town and nobody goes to the games because the team stinks. You know, the Phillies don't make it easy to root for them, but I want people to root for them. Some of the most fun I've ever had being a fan was surrounding that great Phillies team starting in 2007, going to 2011, even a little into 2012. That was just a wonderful time. And it wasn't just because they were winning. It helps. But it wasn't just because they were winning. It was because everyone was excited about them. And baseball's really my second favorite sport. And it's just nice when it was in the air to see the Phillies caps, to have people going, how many games are the Mets behind? Like, can we lock up the division, or we got to fight for the wild card? All that stuff that was just in the air. I'm worried that we're going to lose it as quickly as we got it. We had one good Phillies season. They didn't even make the postseason, but it was exciting through September. I am just so afraid sorry, that's gone again. The ballpark's going to be empty by late June.
I will say, I don't know if this makes you feel any better or not, that the more the more mud you trudge through, the more pain you endure, the more frustrating the team is, the sweeter those championship runs are. And that's really the only consolation I can provide to Philly fans, or to suggest. I mean, we have a lot of great memories from watching a bad baseball team. I mean, for crying out loud. So, that's all part of the life cycle, I guess. It's just not fair that other cities don't have to endure it quite so often.
True.
Do I have any more? Is it my turn? Gene, you want to comment on that one at all?
Just to say that, there is nothing better than being a Phillies fan when the Phillies are the number one game in town. They do have the stage to themselves for the summer. So it's really great when, it's one of the few things that you can really get everybody on board with. There's not really a lot of other distractions to pull people's attention. And everywhere you go, people want to talk about, baseball. And it's every day. So there's always something new to talk about, which is one of the things I really love about baseball. The Eagles, no matter what happens, I mean, like right now, if there was a true apathetic nature of Eagles fans, we would never talk about the Eagles. But there's just something about the DNA of Philadelphia that, sort of, if you were to look at the bits that are in the strand, they would be silver and Kelly green mostly, because I just think that it's literally in the genetic code for us to be the way we are with the Eagles.
Talking about the double helix gene?
Exactly.
I thought he was doing Matrix.
No, well, I mean, It's one of those things where I feel like, having grown up only knowing life as an Eagles fan, like there was never a time where I was some other fan and then like converted to Eagledom. Because I feel like being an Eagles fan is much like being Catholic or much like being any religion. Like you sort of have to be born into it. You don't really hear a lot about Eagles converts from other fandoms. Sometimes you can marry into Eagle fandom, but you don't really just have people like in the Midwest going, "Yep, Eagles. I'm gonna do that." They're the ones that eat horse shit when they win championships. That's for me. But I just believe in my heart of hearts that I don't think the Phillies fans will ever completely abandon the team. But that would be scary if they did.
We use the DNA of a frog to finish the genetic code. So I have one more that was.
I have one more mentioned.
Too. And I'm going to mention sophomore slumps, and my fear is failure to rebound from sophomore slumps. And I'm going to call out specifically Alec Boehm and Carter Hart here, who had difficult sophomore campaigns. And really, if those two don't get their shit together, it's gonna specifically with the Flyers, it's gonna make things real hard. So that's my fear. I guess I kind of have also like another fear that maybe Devontae Smith will have a sophomore slump. But I really wanted to focus on Boehm and Hart, and just my fear is that their sophomore slumps continue to their junior year.
Yeah, that their sophomore slump is a more indicate they thrive freshman year, and right. That was it. And that happens to a lot of us. But yeah, no, that Carter Hart fear. That's ball game. That is a ball game. If Carter Hart is as good as people like me think he is, well, Boehm is working with the hitting coach in Clearwater. Fingers crossed.
Is that K Long? Kevin Long?
Oh, I have no idea.
That's what Girardi calls him, K Long.
Oh,
that was from the that was from the Max Scherzer game with the foreign substance. He wanted his hat checked, and he was like, "You want to go, K Long?"
But long story short, when it comes to Hart, it's as Hart goes, so go the Flyers. I think there's enough. Even if my fear about the Flyers, like their prospects not panning out and just being a team of average players, if the Flyers are an average, mediocre team and Carter Hart's the player I think he is, they're going to win the Stanley Cup. They should win one or at least compete for one. If Carter Hart's not who I think and hope he is, well, then we'll be lucky to make the playoffs. And same with Boehm. Boehm was so much fun. We tried to make Sex Boehm happen. It will happen when he rebounds.
Yes.
And it's just fun and excitement, and having it being taken away from us. I think this shows less about fear and more about like, I hope all of our therapists are taking notes of the anxiety of being a sports fan.
And I hope I didn't waste 99 cents buying Sex Bomb by Tom Jones on my iTunes account.
That's not a waste. Not a waste. Alex Boehm could never play another game for the Phillies for the rest of his life. You have made a good investment.
Okay. Gene, you have one more. Bring us home.
So again, this is one I think that sort of applies to everything.
Great.
I sort of have a fear that all the teams, the player they're pushing forward as like the man or the guy we may not have the guy for any team right now. Like, we may not have that Hall of Fame, the man guy. Here is my, and I see Dave's Embiid face. I see it. Here are my arguments against who you think the guy is on all the different teams. Joel Embiid absolutely has all the physical gifts and the personality to do it. If he has a career-ending injury before the end of this season or next season, he's not the guy.
Sure.
Right. Okay, sure. But in his case, because he's a giant, these are not unrealistic fears. We also,
if the aliens come and abduct me, we're not going to have a show next week.
Right. Well,
we will have one in your memory.
Thank you.
Bryce Harper, right? We all think that he's the guy, right? He's a right fielder. Even with him playing a career year, he can only affect the game so much. You need to have other positions much more beefed up around a right fielder. You cannot build your baseball team around your right fielder. That goes back to probably the beginning. Abner Doubleday on his tombstone says, "Don't build your baseball team around a right fielder." The Flyers. I think Claude Giroux was the man for a long time, but I think right now, and we sort of just talked about this, I think the person that's got to be the guy for the Flyers is the goaltender. Partially because that is the chronic condition that the Flyers have suffered under for decades, is a lack of quality goaltending. How many good Flyers teams were brought down by the Roman Czechmanics of the world? Goalies are sort of have nickel heads. We know that. So let's hope that Carter Hart doesn't fall victim to what is the Flyers curse.
I'm sorry, Gene. What is a nickel head?
It's cheap, is what it is. It's cheap.
Like it's
cheap
not
head.
A quality metal.
It's not a quarter head.
Oh, okay.
I also went
sense.
base metals, but also the chronic condition.
It's the chemist in me. I don't know.
The chronic condition of Flyers goaltending is thankfully now required to be covered by your insurance. Thanks, Obama. So
thanks, Obama.
At least we have that to look forward to.
Yeah, well, that's why in Congress they keep trying to take that away. They want the Flyers goalies to suck. Who did I forget? I got Embiid. I got Bryce Harper.
The Eagles. I mean,
Jesus, who could possibly be the man for the Eagles? It's
Sirianni
not anybody on defense. I guess it's got to be Jalen Hurts. And Jalen Hurts, talk about somebody who they keep sort of like, look, accept him, embrace him.
Devontae Smith's going to be the man. I mean, he's got to be the man.
I would like it to be Devontae Smith. It seems like we actually did really well on that pick. But that means we got to go back to the drawing board and find somebody to throw him the ball.
Yeah, we got to give him the ball.
And that's my fear. My fear is that we don't have the man. I think Joel Embiid's the man. I'm just going to.
Sarah, you didn't have on your list.
Joel Embiid's the man.
Sarah, you didn't have on your list Eagles trade for Deshaun Watson as biggest fear?
No, because this episode was supposed to be fun.
It was fun.
It kind of was fun, but no, I didn't want to go in that real world thing. And there is too much real world shit going on that I'd be like, oh yeah, like all my favorite teams, like just line up the abusers, yeah, I guess we could do that. My biggest fear is that the Philadelphia Flyers turn into the Chicago Blackhawks. I'm like, well, yeah, that would be my biggest fear, and I wouldn't be doing a sports show anymore. No, that would be a bigger fear would be if it happened with the Flyers, because as Gene was saying, the Eagles fandom is a lot like, being born to a Catholic family, being born into a Jewish family. And I'm very much a cultural Eagles fan, so I'm there for tailgates and Thanksgiving games and Monday night footballs and all. But if the Eagles were to bring in Watson or to find some other awful, wretched human being, or at least someone accused multiple times of being a horrible human being, my fandom would wane. It already did when they brought in Vic, although I ended up sort of advocating for him because at least he served his time, but it wasn't fun to root for him. And it wasn't like this big moral quandary. It was just my fandom got lessened in that moment. And if the Eagles were to bring in someone like Watson, it would be over for me. It would be, yeah, I hope he's gone, and I hope Laurie's gone, and I hope Howie's gone. Just call me when they change up the entire team, and then I'll be back. So
Braves are up 5-0 in the fourth. Ooh, spicy. All right, I think, have we gone through everyone's fears? Any outstanding fears we need to exercise? All right, we talked it all out. That's all the time we have for today. We're going to be back next Tuesday. What are we talking next to? Who the Eagles play this weekend? Oh, the Lions. That's right. Lions. Oh, boy. We better be talking about a win next Tuesday, or else it's going to be trouble with a capital T. And that rhymes
with pool.
That stands for Phillies. I don't know what else we're going to be. What else we're going to talk about? Flyers. What do they got going on this week?
They are in Western Canada, but the first 4 games.
That's right. So I won't watch any games.
I'm going to watch a whole bunch of first periods and fall asleep in intermission.
I guess that's more like it.
But that Western Canada swing could really solidify the good things that we've seen in the first 4 games.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be nice to increase the sample size. So there'll be something to talk about with the Flyers. Right now, it's still pretty premature.
Sixers lost to the Knicks tonight. It's going to be tough for them. It's going to be tough. So we'll see. We'll see what else the Sixers hold for us. So we'll be back next Tuesday. If you haven't done so already, please remember to rate, review, and subscribe to the show on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. Also, check us out on social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Just search Podadelphia. If you have any more time in your podcast listening day, be sure to check out the Whip Around for all the week's weird news. Also, be sure to follow the Painted Lines on YouTube for your wall-to-wall Philly sports coverage. Also, check out the Philly Sports Alliance on Facebook. We'll be back next Tuesday. Until then, have a great day at work, everybody. We are out of here.